issue of RMLF, the president is wrong. Say it. Why can't you say it? You can tell him this is my responsibility as a member of parliament.
All the public officers, all the party officers.
Sasa Ruto yuko, tutaona nani ataondoka, mimi nitakuwa pale pale.
Yes, my good people, mambo yamechemka. Raila Odinga with a big U-turn. Nilikuambia Raila Odinga haitawahi tokea even a single day eti support William Ruto during campaign. Haiwezekani. Haiwezekani hata kidogo. Today, Raila Odinga ameamua kutumana Edwin Sifuna to warn William Ruto for the last time. Kwamba iwapo hautaweza kuzingatia mambo ya devolution, then expect me to exit you even right now. Raila Odinga is not a joke. Kumbuka Raila Odinga akiweka mkataba kwa roho yake, huanga anataka ku make sure ametimiza. Raila Odinga promised Rigathi Gachagua kwamba lazima siku yako itafika. And Rigathi Gachagua hako nje. Saizi venye tunaongea. Nono watu wangu. And now Raila Odinga, kumbuka William Ruto amesababisha kikosana na senior councillor wake ambaye ni James Orengo. Kumbuka guys, James Orengo wakati ambapo Raila Odinga amekuwa kiibiwa kura, James Orengo amekuwa kipawa mbele. Nilikuambia kuendelea kutetea Raila Odinga pale mahakamani. Unaona watu wangu? Na James Orengo hajawahi fail kwa hizo kesi zake zote. But venye William Ruto ameingia mamlakani, ndo kina James Orengo ameanza kufanya nini? Kushindwa kesi because William Ruto anatumia ado. But ile wakati wa Maraga was a truthful Chief Justice. That's why unaona James Orengo alikuwa akitetea Raila Amolo Odinga na Raila Amolo Odinga anafaulu. So, and even now James Orengo bado anatuambia kwamba yeye Kenyatta alikuwa pale akamwacha. Moi alikuwa pale amefanya naye na amemwacha. Kibaki the same. Uhuru Kenyatta the same. So anasema kwamba even William Ruto atamwacha pale. Watu wasikuwe na wasiwasi. But kwa hii video tunataka tusikize Edwin Sifuna. Ametumwa Spice FM kuonya William Ruto. Kabla tusikize and show me like video kama kawaida, guys, I have been telling you that hii channel imekuwa ikisupportiwa na wewe na imekuwa ikishikiliwa na wewe, so sina budi ila nikusema thanks so extensive kuendelea kusupport hii channel. Zile moments sana guys, mnaenda kuchukua kulike video, acha Mungu uweze kuonekana, akutetee na akupiganie kwa kila jambo ili uweze kuprosper. Kwa hivyo guys, without wasting time, I want you to pay attention to Edwin Sifuna till the end, then you are going to emerge at the comment section. Skiza.
First of all, I always appreciate opportunities to speak to not just the people of Nairobi, but the general public. And we are meeting here today, or having this conversation today, at a very difficult time for Nairobi. We have had incidents of death following the flooding that has happened in Nairobi. As of yesterday, we were counting upwards of 6 people lost in various places in Nairobi. My teams have been in contact with the families to just extend support to them, because these are the most unnecessary deaths in Nairobi. Because we all know that the rains are going to come at some point, and the county government needs to do certain things to ensure that people are safe. I brought a petition to the Senate just last week before we went on recess on compensation and involvement of the communities that were living along the riparian areas that are very risky. Our people have no problem moving to safer zones. And it's not a decision people make deliberately to live in dangerous places. It is a decision that they are pushed into given their economic circumstances. Mark, you'll find that most of the times the cheapest accommodations you can find in Nairobi are the riskiest.
Yes.
And it is what pushes our people to these areas where they put their lives at risk. And they have told me that they have no problem moving. They just need to be involved, and the compensation that was promised, especially along the river corridors, has to be given. Number 2, as a Catholic myself, we are in mourning. Yes. We lost one of the most progressive popes. I said
that is true.
that if you are an avowed sinner like myself, you know, there are people who are very pretentious.
There's God the Father, God the Son, Holy Spirit, and
Mark
then them.
Yes. Mark will start telling us the way he's infallible.
Let it go.
I am the road.
So we've lost one of the most progressive popes. So that if you are an avowed sinner like Sifuna, this was the pope for us. That found in his heart to accommodate those of us who have fallen short of the glory of God. And as a Catholic, I continue to extend my condolences to the entire Catholic fraternity. I've seen a letter from the Archbishop of Nairobi, the Bishop Anyolo. There's a service tomorrow for that. And even as a family at home, I lost my auntie Mefa yesterday. She's the first wife of my late uncle Lawrence Sifuna. So again, condolences to the family. And so on and so forth. Yeah, but back to that question, if you look at the constitutional structure, the fourth schedule of the constitution has set out the roles of the two levels of government. When we come to say roads, there are only two roads or levels of roads stated in the constitution. We have national roads and we have county roads. It is that simple. So if you read the papers today in the Star, my deputy party leader, Abdul Swamad Nasir, the governor of Mombasa, has tried to explain this thing to those who appear like they don't know what is going on. Because it is not about sentiment. It is about constitutional purity. If the constitution has set out roads at two levels, there are county roads and there are national levels, national roads. So national trunk roads, everybody knows the road from Mombasa to Malaba is a national road. That should be handled by the national government. But all these other roads fall under county governments. My party leader, who's one of the architects of this constitution, has been very clear that there is no role for us in Parliament to involve ourselves in matters of road construction. That my role as a senator, and it extends to members of the National Assembly as well, is oversight, representation of the people, and legislation. You know, so it is not possible for me as Sifuna, if I am also constructing things here in Nairobi, I cannot oversight myself. And that is where the debate is. And when you see somebody like Professor Nyong'o come out and say that the president, even the president claiming that let me manage the roads, first of all, he has more than enough on his plate. And he's struggling with whatever it is that is on his plate. He has national roads to deal with. Let county governments manage the county roads. That's just what the constitution says. So we have a levy that we collect. Every time you buy a liter of fuel, there is a certain percentage that goes to road maintenance levy. And what the members of the National Assembly have done is that because they are upset that the RMLF money is being fought over with the governors, they have decided that they are going to blackmail the entire devolution ecosystem. They're going to blackmail us in the Senate. They're going to blackmail the governors to make sure that they get the RMLF. I was one of the senators.
Blackmail how?
I'll give you examples.
Okay.
During the debate on division of revenue, just the discussion about how much money goes to the county governments, so there was a stalemate. There was a stalemate between the figure that was proposed by the National Assembly and the Senate. Do you know the national government brought back the division of revenue, something that is unprecedented. After we have already passed it, they brought it back and said, oh, we are cutting back the allocation to counties to 380 billion from the 385 that we had given the previous year. And it was something that was unprecedented. In my reading and interpretation of the Constitution only envisages one division of revenue bill every financial year. So this financial year, we have had two. We passed one, then it was rejected and brought back to us, and they told us, oh, because of the Gen Z pricing, we had to abandon the finance bill. Now we are cutting back financing for the for the counties. So when we refused as a Senate, because if you look at the Article 96 of the Constitution, the Senate's entire existence is to protect devolved governments and devolution. So if you tell me that you're going to reduce the allocation to counties, naturally, I am sworn to defend the position of the county governments and the people. So during that stalemate, we go into what is called mediation. We have a committee from the members, a committee that is made of members of the National Assembly and members of the Senate. I remember Ndindi Nyoro was the lead from the National Assembly. And they come to the room and tell us, Sifuna, at that time, the governors have gone to court on this question of RMLF. And they tell us, no RMLF, no division of revenue. Can you imagine? That is how they take hostage the entire devolution. Because the counties are waiting for you to pass a division of revenue act so that they can receive money. They can know how much money is coming to them so that they can plan. So they tell us, we are not going to pass this thing until you guys, in fact, they were so condescending, telling us, oh, Sifuna, you go and speak to your governors, tell them to withdraw that case on RMLF before we have any discussion on anything.
How much are we talking about here? Because let's put it in perspective.
So
in terms
it's
of
about
billions.
60. It's about 60 billion in terms of road maintenance levy. And the members of parliament are insistent that they are the ones to control that kitty, so that they are the ones to run road maintenance in the country. And yesterday, one of them, wenyewe wanajisema, one of them who's loud-mouthed enough, he came out and said they inflate the cost of CDF projects and road projects so that they can make money and live lavishly. He's a member of the National Assembly saying these things.
Edu, as you want to be.
Yes.
I've listened to you keenly.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering whether I'm the one who reads the Constitution as it is. Or maybe there's if-buts confusion in that Constitution. Because the owner of budget, yes, is the National Assembly.
Yes.
But once that budget is released, inclusive of what is given to the counties and is allocated to the counties, how exactly does a member of parliament interface with county government to implement the roads fund?
In fact, they don't interface at all, because once he's the one who is in charge of the roads, they don't even consult the county governments.
Yes.
They don't consult the county governments on the CDF projects that they want to do. It's like we are running two parallel governments that don't speak to each other.
And two parallel constitutions.
Yes. So for as long as this money for RMLF is assigned to the member of parliament for, I don't want to say a constituency because they'll start crying. He is the person who determines which contractor is going to get that road, to do that road, and then wanakutana nyuma ya tent vile mmoja wao mwenyewe ametuambia. And that should not be the case.
But so does legislation interface with execution? My problem is not understanding the corruption they want to do. My problem is understanding on which legal footing do they want to execute this.
No, they have. In fact, the argument we have made as ODM is that there is no legal footing. The courts have said as much, because, as you know, the courts have already declared funds such as the CDF unconstitutional. There is now a bill that has been published to amend the constitution to entrench all these funds in the constitution. It's undergoing public participation. And our position, and the position I take, luckily for me, I take instructions from only one boss. I only have one boss, who is Raila Molo. So all these other riffraffs shouting here and there, I don't really care what they have to say. I take instructions from one person. So Baba has been very clear that, in fact, members of the National Assembly have no business engaging in road construction. He has come to the defense of devolution on this particular issue, and he has directed that members of the National Assembly from ODM must support devolution. And I was happy that at the burial in Siaya recently, for his long-time bodyguard, the leader of minority in the National Assembly, who's an ODM member, the Honorable Junet Mohammed, committed to making sure that members of ODM support the position that has been taken by the party.
Okay.
And in fact, the tiff that I was getting into with some of these characters from Kenya Kwanza is that we have not had the president defending devolution. In fact, he is an enemy of devolution when he stands up and says, leave it to me.
To me.
Yeah, that is not what the constitution says. He has national roads to deal with. Na zimemshinda. So awache governors wafanye county roads as required by the constitution. Number two, the leader of majority in the National Assembly, Kimani Ichung'wah, has said nothing. Has said nothing at all in defense of devolution. In fact, he, all the time when he rises on the floor of the House, he wants to characterize the governors as the problem with devolution. But Mark, if you interact with these issues, I'm telling you this country is in a problem. And I am convinced that if we don't sort out national leadership, it doesn't matter what these people are doing here at the county level. We will always struggle. Because the people at the helm, the top, if they don't believe in devolution, do you know, Mark, we say, okay, we have passed the Division of Revenue Bill. It says Nairobi County is going to get 20 billion Kenya shillings. So the county governor has to start preparing a budget based on what the Senate has passed, right?
Yes.
But that money never ever gets to the counties in time. We pass something called a disbursement schedule.
Yes.
A disbursement schedule is supposed to say every single month, county government of Nairobi will receive 1.2 billion Kenya shillings. The National Treasury never follows that disbursement schedule. So why do we pass these things? You know? Then you see it and you rack up a lot of pending bills. It is impossible for counties to plan,
To operate.
you know, to operate.
So-
So if you don't get a person who actually believes in devolution in the
At the
national
top.
government at the top, then nothing is going to happen. And clearly, William Ruto is not the right person because he's saying he wants to take away county functions. Yeah.
So, Sifuna, here we're talking about 60 billion shillings.
Yeah.
And then there are these other bodies that are in charge of making sure that this is spent. So we have the Kera and Kura.
Yeah.
So once this devolution, as stated by the Constitution, we only have two roads, national and county.
Yeah.
Where will Kera and Kura go?
So my party leader again has provided guidance.
Yes.
Because Mzee was the person who crafted these road agencies. At that particular point in time, we still had a unitary system. We didn't have the new constitution.
No.
Now, he has said boldly, and it is a position that we have taken as a party, and it's a position that I follow. So if you want to come after me, know that you are not coming after Sifuna, you're coming after Raila. Wewe deal na mzee, wewe deal na baba. Wewe deal na baba. Baba amesema ya kwamba in the current constitutional dispensation, we actually don't need Kura and Kera. Because all those roads, there are only two roads.
Yes.
Two classifications of roads. The national roads and the county roads. So Kera has no business existing. It has no business existing.
Yes.
Let those roads, because those roads are classified as county roads, be managed by the county government.
Yes.
Kenya Urban Roads Authority need not exist at the moment under the constitutional dispensation that we have. So that is the position. This the problem is, the problem, Mark, is money.
Right, that's it.
That-
Okay,
that
so
is
let's
the-
jump off of that
that's
issue.
the problem.
Yeah.
Edwin, let's
Yeah.
jump off of that issue
Yeah.
and let's play in a different space just
Yeah.
for a minute, as uncomfortable as it might be.
Yeah.
Let us imagine
Yeah.
that members of parliament have finished their work
Yeah.
in legislation, they finished their work in representation, they
Yeah.
finished that work.
Yeah.
And now they want to focus on handling this fund, because
Yeah.
essentially, what is the purpose of this fund?
Yes.
Yeah.
It is to build, maintain roads.
Yeah.
That's what it is. That's what
Correct.
that road maintenance money
Correct.
does, right? What would it look like that members of parliament in 290 constituencies then would be handling this money? What would you imagine that they would be doing?
The number of portabilis in this country. will
Let's
increase.
imagine, what would they
First
be
of
doing?
all, it is impossible to conclude or finish the work of representing
Exactly.
people.
Yes.
Because
Exactly.
you see, representation is a daily thing. You represent people in all the platforms that you get, including here, including in parliament, and in all the spaces that you occupy. So I don't countenance, or I don't imagine a situation where you would be done with legislative business and representation business. But the truth is, we exist. For instance, we senators, we don't have any funds to build anything.
Yes.
We don't have, but we do exist. We have a job to do, and we do it well. As a person elected to represent, to legislate, and to oversight, if you look at the scorecard in the past 2.5 years, the Senate has done extremely well. Just last week, we were passing a law to give financial independence to county assemblies. Do you know that because of that simple amendment to the public finance management law, you allow greater oversight in the counties? Because imagine the assembly and its functions and its running depending on the
governor
whims of the governor.
Yes.
There is a famous form they used to call Form C, that if the CEC for finance is not available to sign that form, there is no drinking water in the county assembly. How are you supposed to oversight people? And when I went to there was a meeting of the county assembly forum where I was invited to speak. I gave them an assurance that as a Senate we are agreed we are going to give financial independence to county assemblies so that they can enhance their oversight capacity. We have passed, just the other day, there's a bill that I sponsored on transparency in the electricity billing system, transparency in the energy sector, just basic things like disclosure of beneficial owners of these independent power producers and so on and so forth. I have now started my second amendment, the second legislative proposal that I've made, to make sure that county governments set aside some money, 1% of whatever money they receive on their county revenue fund, to support registered sporting associations, so that every time the Nairobi County Boxing Association has a tournament, in Vihiga or Mombasa, they don't walk around with a begging ball in our offices saying they want 100,000 shillings to travel. The county government of Nairobi, if you look at their budget, there is no single line allocation of money for sporting associations. How are you supposed to nurture talents?
True.
So there is a lot of work to do. There's a lot of work to do. I personally have taken the position that it's not that we lack laws. We have laws, sufficient laws, but it's just the bad manners in this country that every time we have to tie the hands behind the back of the people with executive power even more and more. So every time we try to tighten. In terms of representation, my brother, there's a lot of issues. If you come to my office, I have an entire box, like something like that DJ stand, for petitions from people. All sorts of issues. People have issues in promotions of police officers, promotion of teachers. You have seen members of the National Assembly handing out TSC letters. Have you ever seen Sifuna do those things? I mean, it's just ridiculous.
It is.
So, if we focused on our mandate as members of parliament, people elected in the Senate and the National Assembly, there's actually enough work to do. You don't have to be running around.
So you actually have no business then trying to manage a road maintenance levy fund.
And that is the position of Baba, the position of the party.
Okay.
I want us
to... you said something that stuck in my head.
Yeah.
You said that the person at the top, if he doesn't change, then we cannot implement devolution, etc., etc. But I keep thinking there's something called the National Assembly.
Yeah.
Legislation, I will not judge them because everyone knows how that is going.
Yeah.
But it was imagined that the National Assembly was given enough power to oversight the executive. What will it take to remove the National Assembly from worshipping money, in this case 60 billion, to actually realizing that if they actually follow the constitution and implement it, the roads that they are built, they'll drive onto?
Yeah, so it is a very serious dilemma. Like, even I, as a member of parliament, sometimes just wonder why my colleagues cannot see how powerful the institution of parliament would become if we just stayed true to the oath of office that we took. But the truth of the matter is that this constitution, there are people who have challenges with it, that they didn't believe in independent institutions, so they have tried their most to make sure that you cripple or compromise these institutions so much that they can't function in the way that they were designed to function. It started with the first team to implement this constitution in 2013. And I remember members of the National Assembly who were elected on the then Jubilee Party. And you remember the story of the tyranny of numbers.
Yes.
And people imagining that you are in parliament to defend the political party on which you were elected. That is not what the framers of this constitution envisaged.
True.
They envisaged that Parliament as an institution would oversight both the county and national governments. But then you get to 2013, and first of all, we end up with a leadership that did not believe in this constitution. It is on record that people like William RUTO were against this constitution. And therefore, if it is something that he didn't believe in from the start, there is no way you expect him to actively make sure that it works. In fact, they try to find ways in which to make sure that this constitution does not work. So members of the National Assembly have neutered all the oversight mechanisms that were woven into our constitution. You remember the incident where Anwar Guru was supposed to be impeached as a cabinet secretary following the NYS scandal. Then this mythical Inturi, who's now making noise here, disappeared somewhere in a hotel in Naivasha.
Just disappeared.
You know, this guy disappeared. And made sure that
and she took on lighter duties.
And she took on lighter duties, and the rest, as they say, is history. Yeah, so that is part of the problem. And we have come from that situation to a place whereby members of the National Assembly who are elected on the president's party feel that their job there is to protect their presidency, so-called presidency. And you see, history has proven more times that mambo inabadilikanga in a second. So we have members of the Senate, for instance, who were very rabid supporters of this government, and they were from Murima. Right now in the Senate, they are the ones crying. The ones crying, looking at Sifuna, help us, please. Because when you are sworn in the Senate there, please, can you just be faithful to your oath of office and the work that people sent you to do? As an institution, as a Senate, we can take a position that is contrary to a position that has been taken by the national government. Even the leader of majority